We'll work with it.
But this way you can look right at the people that are on the Zoom call. And
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I do with this. Yeah. We are live.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Dave. What are you using?
This thing.
Ozbot?
Is that a camera?
No, this is a mount. This is the
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Mag. This is called the Mag 2 by Plexicam, and it's a magnet, and most monitors are magnetic, so you can just I have it stuck right onto the monitor. See that magnet?
Well, this is
You
this, I don't know if you can see it.
It doesn't work.
That's
Yeah, it doesn't
my
work.
that's my usual camera. That's a
Your
Sony
DSLR.
A5100.
Yeah.
But I wanted to try this thing out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm using a 360 Link 2 that's mounted on Plexicam,
Same.
hanging off into the center of my screen.
Oh, the plexiglass thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've used those before.
The Mag 2 I bought, and I wound up giving it to my son because it doesn't work on the Apple Studio screen.
And the other one
It's
you
two
have,
thing.
The other
Yeah.
one you have, you gave me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Eric!
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi, Eric.
Yeah, I've been burning up in the house all the whole time my wife has been gone. And I was thinking, oh, it's just the medication. It's just no, it turns out when my wife left, she left a thermostat on heat. Oh,
That'll do it.
it was like, son of a bitch. What the hell?
No wonder why you're sweating.
Yeah, I've been just dying here at night.
Yeah, I'm on the second floor of actually third floor because it's a tri-level. And it doesn't really quite make it into this office, the air conditioning. So Aileen was walking around today and she's like, it's so hot. So I went downstairs and turned on the air conditioning and she's like, it's so hot. And then she walked into my office and she goes, it's like 20 degrees warmer in here. How can you stand it in here?
It gets warm in my room too.
Yeah.
Hi, Chuck.
good evening, gentlemen.
Hi, Chuck.
Oh, how you
Chuck,
doing?
How's life?
All right.
Okay.
you bitch and then you die.
I love your optimism, guy. Hmm.
My son is coming home on Monday.
Yay.
I get to pick him up at the airport. My wife is thrilled.
Yeah, my son and his wife just got back from Japan.
Oh, wow.
Year-long delayed honeymoon. They were over there for like 2 weeks. And I am officially now doged. I just got my 30-day notice today.
Oh,
Doge.
Sorry.
Well, no, actually it's fine. You know, financially we're in probably better shape than most of the other people that are getting hit.
yeah.
And I'll be 65 in September. So I'll just slide right over into Social Security and Medicare.
That's funny. You don't look 70.
I don't. Do I?
Just going to be a couple
I
minutes.
got
late.
my eye on you, Marty.
All right.
Careful, I'll
yeah.
take it out and throw it at you.
Turn to the left. I want to do something bad.
Oh, it's going to be one of those nights. I can just tell.
Oh my gosh. Jeff's going to be a few minutes late, so we're going to
Fashion.
minute.
Turn to the left. Fashion.
Turn to the right. We are the Goon Squad, and we're coming to
into town.
town.
Beep beep. You and I are probably the only people that know that song.
I don't know.
What about it, Chuck? You know what that song is?
I have no idea what the, I thought I'm just going to stay out of this. It's probably safer.
That was
Yeah,
like
it's-
probably that artist's
Which song?
one of his best-selling albums.
Yeah.
Had like 3 or 4 hits on it.
Okay.
Was that the first one after coming out of the Space Clown era that he was doing?
I think so. Now I'm trying to look up the album.
Okay, so that tells me you're talking about Bowie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I didn't hear which song you were talking about.
Fashion.
Yeah,
Fashion.
great album, but I can't remember the name of it either.
That's the name of the band.
No, it was David Bowie.
Oh, Bowie. Bowie.
It is got. Oh, these are singles. I need to get the album. Come on.
If only we had some kind of digital convenience that would tell
Oh
us.
yeah, that thing called ChatGPT.
I don't know. Bowie, Bowie was an interesting character. I like some of his music, not all of it. I really like the Diamond Dogs album. But
Yeah, that was a
so
great
much and and the live album he did. Oh no, wait, that was not Bowie. I'm sorry, wrong David. But it just for me was inconsistent. It was like,
Let's
okay,
Dance.
some was really good, some was like, okay.
That was the name of the album, was Let's Dance.
Right.
Really?
Let's dance. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
From the album Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. Yeah, that's the album.
No, that was the previous album.
Da-da-da-da.
Ashes to Ashes, Fashion. These are singles from Scary Monsters and Super Creep. Up the Hill Backwards.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking of the wrong album. Modern Love, China Girl, Let's Dance.
That's all. That's all.
Yeah,
Let's
Ricochet,
Dance.
Cat People. I mean, just all great friggin' songs.
Yeah, I was in my alternative radio work at that point, so lots of Bowie, and I spun some when I was working at clubs too. So Ashes to Ashes revisited the character Major Tom from Space Oddity.
Sort of. He mentions them in the song.
Yeah. Recorded at Power
You know,
Station.
Major Tom's a junkie.
Does this have Fripp on it or Eno? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, they talk about his Berlin trilogy, which I guess was the weird,
Mhm.
and not that some great music didn't come out of that. But he just kind of looked very weird and what's the word? Androgynous.
Androgynous. Yeah. That's kind of his thing.
Yeah.
Robert Fripp played guitar on Fashion, Scary Monsters, Up the Hill Backwards. Pete Townsend was guitar on Because You're Young.
Did anyone see the video for Dancing in the Street with Jagger and Bowie?
Oh, well, a while ago, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a version of that where they took out all the music and it was just the sound of their feet hitting the floor with them with someone in the background occasionally going, "Oh, yeah, oh." It was so funny. Just took the whole context right.
The man, the myth, the legend. Still figuring it out.
It's like
Let's
that.
start off on the right foot. Jeff, you need more gain.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
this
there you go.
checks out.
You're good.
So Actually, do you want me to give you a little more? A little
No,
something,
you-
something?
No, actually, you're
No.
good. I was
You
just
sound good. He was teasing.
But assuming that I need to give you more gain up here, that's a fair assumption.
No.
Camera's too low. Keeps chopping off your. There you go.
He's using his laptop.
So my laptop is sitting on the American Medical Association Encyclopedia of Medicine and the pharmacological principles of medical practice.
common household books
Yeah.
for people to have.
Growing up
Everybody
here,
has
yes.
friends.
Mhm.
Usually there's a physician's desk reference sitting around too. I just didn't
Yeah.
see it.
Has anyone ever been to the Mutters Museum in Philadelphia?
I have not.
No.
Speaking of medical oddities,
All right,
I've
guys,
been there
let's go.
twice. Once because I didn't know what it was, and the second time because
You
my
did.
wife. No, I did not want to go the second time, but she wanted to meet a friend of hers who drove down from Jersey, so it was like, fine, I'll go.
All right, I'm ready. You guys ready?
Dave always likes to get down to business.
No, I'm just. You want to talk about that?
Dave likes to get down.
Yeah, well,
Funky.
done that plenty of times. All right.
Wait a minute.
All right.
Wait a minute.
I-
What do you mean plenty of times? I think we need to have a little more elaboration on that. Or maybe not. I'm not sure.
Eric will draw you a picture.
He's got the hand going.
with pictures and arrows on the back and a paragraph explaining what each one was.
You know, you can get
outline
anything
the
you
body.
want at that restaurant. Well, I mean, except for Alice.
We got Eric already and it hasn't even started.
Yeah, he hasn't even started yet. Don't do it while he's drinking.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't put that cup to your lips.
That's always the spit take challenge with Eric.
All right.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Dave.
take your sip. No, you're fine.
Spit Take Challenge. Isn't that his Kinks cover band name?
Yeah. That's his gangster name, actually. Spit take
Yeah.
challenge.
All right, here we go.
Gang signs.
Here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 363 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Vision Pro, Mac, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I've got a great panel here as always this week, and it's going to be so much fun. And especially fun is Marty Gensius. Thanks for being here, Marty. How you doing?
It's been a good day. Did a podcast, kind of took some extra naps, did a little work, and avoided grading exams. So it's been a beautiful day.
That's great. That's a good thing to do. And Guy Searles returned to the show. How you doing, Guy? Great for you to be here.
I'm so tired. It has been, some people like Marty was just talking about, some people say, it's been one of those days. It's been like that for about 3 weeks now. And my wife comes home tomorrow, so everything is golden.
Yeah. And
Nice.
Chuck Joyner. Chuck Joyner's here. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm good. I'm debating whether Guy shaved since he was here last or not. Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
Actually,
Also
I'm
here.
due for a haircut.
Yeah,
Also-
you're looking pretty shaggy.
Yeah, both
yeah,
of
you
them.
are.
This one here and this one right here.
Yeah.
He's going to do a podcast called Guy's Daily Shave.
Takes about 30 seconds.
Yeah. All right. Eric Bolden, don't spit up. How you doing? After I drink of water. How you doing? Glad you're here.
Good. This has been a great week. No sleep,
Yeah.
but a really good week.
Yeah. We've been doing a lot of podcasting this week for
I wonder
something to be
why.
named later. Jeff Gammon, I'm so glad you've made it here today. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm so glad I'm here. I'm doing okay, and quite frankly, I am mildly surprised that I actually made it.
Well, I'm very happy you did. Very happy you did. So,
Yeah.
Something went on this week. Oh, yeah, WWDC 2025. There was an immense amount of stuff to talk about. We're going to probably use most of the show and not spend a lot of focus on everything that was announced, but we want to hit all 5 of the different OSs at some point here to just dive in a little bit to find out what are the notable things that were discussed and what our thoughts were for all the events that happened on the keynote from this past Monday. So let's just go jump right in here today, and I'm going to start with Vision Pro as we usually do. The Vision OS 26 was a release. There was a number of great features that were added. And I know Marty, Eric, and I have dove into it pretty quickly. I don't know, Eric, did you install it yet? I don't think you did. The beta.
Eric?
Yeah, it's been scary. I installed it everywhere.
Oh, wow.
I put it on my production phone, my production iPad, my Vision Pro, not my production computer. But
you put the Vision OS on all of your different devices.
Yeah. I keep running into things though, expecting to be able to walk through them, and they're actually real.
Hit the wall.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah. That's why sobriety is a wonderful thing, Jeff.
You keep telling me that, but I don't know.
So a number of the features that were and new things that were released on Vision OS is Vision OS 26. As we know, all the OSs are now ending in the year. So you have Vision OS 26, Mac OS 26, iOS 26, iPad OS 26. So they're all 26.
Yeah, all named for the year after they came out.
The year after they came out, right? Because it's going to be for that because it gets released in the fall, and then we'll lead into 2026. So, anyways, so spatial widgets and realistic 3D spatial scenes from photos. That was a pretty amazing thing. I haven't looked at a lot of photos yet, but you also can make the photos 2D and really get a great view with some of the photos you have in that. But the widgets are pretty amazing. With a weather widget and a clock widget, and you can have them put on. It's like basically you're putting it on a wall. You move it around, and if you're looking in a room, and you can just have it in a place where you can always see it if you'd like. And so I think they really knocked it out of the park with that as far as that goes. Have you guys looked at the widgets yet, Marty or Eric? I have.
Yeah, I have. Can we also put apps up and they retain? I think Eric. No, it's not apps.
No, it's just widgets. It's widgets.
Just
right
widgets.
Now.
Okay.
For now.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah. I put the widgets up, and that's cool. The fact that you can shut off the device, walk away, pick it up another day, and those widgets are still, in that space, wherever that space is that you left them.
It does seem to need to have a solid surface, though. It gets confused if you try to stick it to glass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I tried that a couple times, and it just kind of goes through and comes back and just waits. But solid surface, stick it up there. It's great. I tried sticking it on a stairwell, and that worked out really well, but it doesn't like it if you get too close. Then it kind of disappears and it's unhappy. You got to back away from it. Nice and bright. I really like that part. If Apple ever gets around to a giant iPad that you hang on a wall, I hope it looks that good, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And especially if you get a scene that has some depth to it, because as you're walking past the frame, it really is like looking out a window to see a scene, and then depending on where you're standing, you see more of one side or more of the other side. Very, very, very cool.
Yeah. They did do the new personas. I'm still not a fan of Persona, but I'll be honest, guys. It looks a lot better than it did from
it does.
The previous version. But I think it still has a bit to go. I shared, Marty and I shared our personas in picture, and it looks a little better. But when I shared it with my wife, she's like, "Oh my God, you still look creepy."
Yeah, you can. On this one though, you can start to see all the liver spots on my face. So it's much more accurate depiction of what I don't want to look like. and which is what I look like now. So
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It's less creepier. I think as a persona, I generally go in and do my stuff without any kind of social entity that gets involved with what I'm doing. So personas is not a
Yeah.
big thing for me. I
Yeah,
just,
I hadn't used them at all before
yeah,
before the next latest upgrade. So
Um, you get full glasses.
yeah,
So
that's
you
right.
get the sides of the glasses, not just the fronts. That was always a
yeah,
little disconcerting if you turned your head,
yeah,
no earpieces. Um, yeah, much better resolution and more complete. Like you get the whole top, head, shoulders down to the writing on your shirt, as opposed to a disembodied head and two disembodied hands.
Yeah,
So
you can do jazz hands now too.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that the character that I made for myself on my Wii is still better.
possibly.
So I mean,
Well,
it's a full
hang
body.
on to your Wii then, Jeff.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, if
wee.
you're if
I
you're
hold on to it all the time. Yep.
if you're
Oh my
if
gosh.
Yeah,
you're a
I'm not even.
10-year-old child, the Wii is better for you,
Yeah,
Jeff.
yeah, like Jeff and I.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So the shared experiences has improved. The guests being able to share your Vision Pro with somebody is so much easier, even more so improved from the 2.5 to now 26. So you've got some great opportunities with local and remote collaboration. So sharing has got a lot easier. I have to start playing with that some more. And then the enterprise features, which interested me, is you have now shared device and protected content, which is pretty amazing because the demo during the keynote was they were sitting looking at a vehicle and they got a 3D rendering of the wheel coming off of it, and then you had two guys using the Vision Pro being able to collaborate in real time with this, which is I thought was really cool. The other two devices that they announced for spatial accessories. Well, the first one was the Logitech Muse, which is a form of a stylus that you can be doing a lot of artwork and stuff like that. We don't know much about it other than they announced it, and then I went and got the press release from Logitech, and it says there's no idea when it's going to come out, but can guarantee probably Marty and myself will probably buy, and I'm sure Eric will too when it comes out. So we'll check it out. And then PlayStation has a new VR2 controllers for the PlayStation, so that's kind of cool. And then there's some more video encoding that's going to be. They're going to do native video encoding with Adobe Premiere. Marty, you're probably going to like that once
Yep.
once you start playing with that to some
Yeah.
you're doing some native 180 and 360 video playback, and as well as they have a new environment. The Jupyter environment looked really cool. If you guys tried that yet, I haven't tried it. I want to really take a look at that a little closer. And yeah, and of course, Apple Intelligence is part of all this. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. And then home folders. That's one other thing that's not listed here is creating home folders in the home view. And I know, Marty, you've been doing that, and I want to start doing
Yeah.
it because it's. I mean, the apps are spread out everywhere, and that was back when iOS was young and you couldn't do folders before, and now you can. And
Yeah, and
finally added
they just alluded to it by saying there's a whole new way to manage the platform.
Yeah.
And they didn't say anything about folders. It showed up in one of the little squares in the bento box. And that was my kind of wish. I really wanted to be able to do that. My other wish now is that the Jupyter environment would, as you stare at you see little black monoliths coming out of one part of it.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Oh, for sure. So that was Vision OS. I thought that there were some pretty good updates to it. We still got a bit of ways to go with this device of VR, but I think they've made some huge strides since its introduction a little over a year ago. So that is really cool. So, but let's talk about iOS. iOS, of course, the the moniker of this show, and a lot of pretty awesome improvements that have happened with iOS. The lock screen's been revamped with dynamic wallpapers and 3D spatial scenes. It's really cool. I don't know if you guys have tried it yet. It does have the 3D scene on the iPhone and on your view, which is really cool. Any of you guys have tried that yet? The beta?
Yeah, I switched over to like my favorite photos, which, my kid, my dog, my wife, and all of them have kind of that dimensionality to it. So
Yeah.
it's really quite cool. And if more data comes in, the on the home screen, like notifications and stuff, it adjusts for that automatically when it comes in. And then like tonight, I got a message from my son, and I have to test this, but I don't know if it automatically switched to a picture of him when the message came up on my phone, on of the locked phone, the message came up, and then, or if I heard the message and looked over, and it just happened to be a coincidence that my favorite photo of him was on there when he decided to send me a message. So
Yep.
I'm curious if it's got that kind of contextual understanding.
Yep. Yep. So, Jeff, you watched the keynote, and I know you did a lot of great, took a lot of great notes. And a shout out to Mac and Tech. I mean, we had a great time with that Mac user group on
Yeah,
this
that was
past
fun.
Tuesday this week. A lot of fun, and they were impressed of all the things we talked about, Jeff and I. So, shout out to them. They got some good info about the iOS and all the OSs. Did anything stand out to you with iOS, Jeff? That was announced that you thought was pretty cool?
Hold on. I should have had my notebook out in my hand already.
That's okay.
And
I put you on the spot.
you did. Oh, I did have my notebook out. I have too many notebooks sitting here. So, all right. First, Dave, thanks for joining in for the Mac and Tech meeting, because you were an absolute lifesaver. That when I realized that the beta wouldn't work for showing my iPad screen, just in my case, not yours. I was
Right.
like, well, I guess I'm doing interpretive dance, but then there you were. So thank you for
Of
being there
course.
and helping.
It was a lot of fun.
Okay. So yeah, one of the things that stood out for me in iPhone or iOS was that is that Apple, I think, finally realized that there's a phone in the iPhone again. They forgot for a long
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
And so we get that whole new interface for the phone app. And excuse me, from the screenshots they were showing, it looks like what I wish the phone app had been doing for a long time, giving me that unified interface so that I can see my messages, my favorites, missed calls, all of that. So yeah, I like what they're doing for the phone app. Um, let's see. Still with the phone app, the thing where your phone can detect when you're on hold, and then it can just take over the call and monitor that while you get on with your life, and then alert you when you're not on hold anymore. Holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It turns out there are a handful of us that actually use the phone on our iPhone a lot.
Mhm.
So stuff like that to me is super cool. Then well, related to that, it was one of the things that they mentioned um, during the phone part in the Messages app. I like that you now have RCS support in group chats, and adding in the polls into group chats. I thought was for a lot of people, they're going to be like, "What? Why would I want that?" But I think that's actually going to be a really useful feature for the target audience that they're looking at for that feature. It's like most people are like, "I don't care about Genmoji," but it's a necessary thing to have because there's a much broader base of iPhone users than us. So, yeah, there you go. There's just a couple things for you there.
Yeah. Um, liquid glass, like liquid glass design with the shimmy app icons and the translucent interface, which is going across all the OSs. Uh, I thought it was cool. I mean, I think it's really cool on the iPhone. But is it kind of, if it's kind of glitz, Chuck? What was your first impressions on the liquid glass?
First impressions are going to only come from what I've seen online because I
Right,
am not
right.
crazy enough to install any of the betas.
No, Jeff too.
But that said, I think it looks interesting. I don't know if it's just glitz or flash until I get a chance to play with it.
Sure.
I must say though, I like the idea of the tints. I thought that was a really interesting concept. I'd have to have somebody that is more versed in visual accessibility to tell me whether that could be useful in that arena or not. Because I know there've been some discussions about accessibility just overall with the liquid glass, but I can't help but wonder if the tints would make a difference to some people depending on what their visual challenges are. That said, it felt like a nice little extra coat of paint on top of a whole lot of nice features, and no major oh my god features that this is, but just a lot of nice little enhancements, additions, things that maybe you thought about would be nice to have and then just went on, but now that you have them, I think you're going to use them, and I'm looking forward to playing with a lot of them.
Yeah.
I, I feel really good about iOS 26. I was about to say the next version, but iOS 26.
Yep. How about you, Guy? Did you get to catch up with the keynote and got some impressions?
I
on iOS?
did. I didn't put it on my phone because this is the only phone
Of
I
course.
have. Being almost 65, the one thing that really, really interested me was call screening. Automatically
Mhm.
answers unknown callers, asks for their name and reason, for the call before it actually rings your phone, which should kill about hopefully 80 to 90% of the spam calls that I get asking me, well, you saw our the stuff that we sent you in the mail. No, I didn't. On our Medicare supplemental plans. And so we'd like to talk to you about it ad nauseum until you just sign up because you're tired of talking to us. It's like, no. Also the Apple Games app, or not,
Yes.
yeah, Apple Games app, I think is something that's been needed for a very long time. I would love to see it on the Mac OS as well. And the I had it here and I can't find it now. But those were like the two big things that really interested me. And the Games app actually, I know we're not there yet, but works great on the iPad OS.
Yep. Eric, how about you? What stood out on iOS 26?
If you switch to the kind of glass icon mode, it's great if you have 5 or 10 apps. If you have several hundred apps, it's a disaster because everything kind of looks the same. There's not enough differentiation. So if you expect shapes or color or anything else to help you find the app you're looking for, that all goes away. But if you have like a dedicated phone you're using with a few apps on it, I think it looks really cool. And you can up the contrast, so that helps a lot. I like that feature. Camera app, they did a lot of redesign on the camera
Yeah.
app.
Mhm.
Many things are not immediately findable. You have to kind of sort of discover them, and they're kind of layered down a little bit. And there are a couple things that I use that aren't like right there. But I think there's a lot of features that, like the animated stills that people turn on accidentally all the time, that'll stop happening. So I think it'll be good eventually. Right now, I'm finding it just annoying.
Yeah. Anything else for you, Marty, that you found on iOS?
I'm glad nobody said this yet. Preview.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
Big.
You know, because it's like, okay, which PDF viewer am I going to open this one on when I've been opening it on preview on my Mac OS? I just love that. That's one. A lot of talk that's happened since the betas have come out about liquid glass is all you're seeing right now, or at least all I'm seeing on Reddit, is complaints about it and pick screenshots of where it doesn't work for somebody and some articles saying kind of how you can tweak it and how you can change it if you need to do that. But that's all the stuff that's floating to the top right now. You're not hearing from people who are like, yeah, this is pretty cool. We're going to be living with this, probably this kind of fresh coat of paint for 10 years, maybe. I think this is going to be the design that we're going to see for a while. So people will get used to it. Things will get more customizable for folks that aren't used to it. But yeah, that for me, preview was the important part. And I'm kind of interested in this. I haven't tried it out, and maybe I'll try it out tomorrow because I've got another day at home and work. But this auto mix, having worked as a DJ when I was much, much younger, the idea of going across beats per minute from one song to another, bringing up the tempo from song to song by going up, bringing it back down. I'm curious to see what Apple chooses for me to do that, to do that mix over and what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Marty, I have a feeling right now it's just going to be a setting. Like, we will mix for you, or
Yeah.
there will be no mix.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think there is going to be a setting, and that's what I want to try out just to see how that works in terms of music.
Well, you have to remember it is still in beta, and so the only song that plays currently is "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Yeah.
So we're being rickrolled, is what you're saying.
Rickrolled. There you go. One more thing I wanted to mention before we move on here. iOS 26 also had some major enhancements with messages. You can add group chat polls. Marty and I tried that. That was really cool. You can create a poll, and we ranked our favorite podcasters. I think that we did. So
Yeah.
And Chuck, you made it in the top 3. Oh my God! I had to do that.
I'm from Chicago. I voted for you twice, Chuck.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
The personalized backgrounds is really cool. So you can add personalized backgrounds. They look really cool and they're clean. It does have Apple Cache in chats and typing indicators, which we had already, I believe, already. So I don't know if that was really new, but
that's in group chats.
Oh, that's right. In group chats. That's right. You couldn't see that before. Now you can. And then the spam filtering is huge too, because you get so much spam. Oh my God. I mean, Governor Newsom from California sending me a text message. I don't even live in California. What do you bother me? So yeah, it's good to do that. So, and then just kind of add on to it with CarPlay. CarPlay was, now features the liquid glass, and it has a much more translucent interface and adapts between light and dark modes, which is cool in the car. I haven't tried it yet with my 16E. I got to try that pretty quick here. It does have widgets and live activities in CarPlay now, which is really cool, just like we talked about on the Vision Pro, Vision OS. And then the messaging features are enhanced as well, and you can now see pinned conversations and messages and be able to quickly access it. Of course, you're keeping your eye on the road when you're doing that, right? Call management's improved.
Is there any way to replay a message after you've already listened to it?
I didn't see that mentioned, but I will try that and get back to you. And then it did have improved call management too. So that's the CarPlay will now appear in a compact mode, allowing you to see who's calling without missing an essential information or navigation directions. So that's good. And then CarPlay Ultra was talked about briefly. Of course, we aren't going to see that for quite some time because there's only about 13 car manufacturers that apparently are going to get this, for what they say anyway. It's going to have much more deeper integration with the vehicle systems, getting control over your functions, climate settings, and so forth. which has some very cool things. So, but I don't
If
think much else.
car
Like,
manufacturers are willing to give up that kind of control.
well, it seems like they are. So there's
We'll
a
see.
number of vehicles that are going to have it. We'll see where it goes.
My
But let's
commute
move on.
is no, just my commute is about 5 minutes, and one of the things I noticed in CarPlay for the 5 minutes that I had it is it seems like the resolution. For example, I have set on my podcasts. I look at latest podcasts or newest podcasts, and there used to be a list of about 10 on there. Now the screen only fits about 5. And I feel like I'm losing all the opportunity to look through things without having to scroll it. So I don't know if that is a function of the new CarPlay, but all of those resolutions got like really big for me with messages and also with lists of podcasts.
Maybe it checks your birthday, and the older you are, the bigger it all gets.
Yeah, and at some point it says we're not going to start the car for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're blind.
You say you want
That's
to
probably for the best. Oh, Guy, this is why I love you.
All right, let's move on to the one that I think had just the massively awesome upgrades is the iPad OS 26. This truly could probably be your full-time device. You would not be all surprised. I would not be at all surprised you start seeing more and more people making the iPad their potential full-time device. And I talked about this, about 5-6 years ago at Mac Stock, that it could be. And back then, I was kind of convinced, but it wasn't. It couldn't really go over the edge. This update will, I think, we're almost there with what this can do. The major update was the windowing system. It's just absolutely incredible. I just was holding my iPad here. I'm showing it on the screen, and look at that. You've got the windowing right there. Being able to tap them back and forth, and it's easier to go off to the side, and you tap it back and brings them back over again. You can move them anywhere you want. You can open multiple apps. You got multitasking. So it's just absolutely amazing.
Put them.
And it remembers exactly where you put them. So I can grab any one of these, and then if I tap it back, it keeps it where it's at. So the long overdue with this, and it's going to be so much easier to manage Windows. This was the biggest thing that is amazing. Again, we talked about the preview app. Preview app is there now, and that was a huge thing. Everybody that's a Mac user loves the preview. I think preview is one of the best apps that manage almost everything. It really is a selling point here. So, as I said, they focus on multitasking file workflows on all the iPads. So you're getting better workflows with that. The Files app is upgraded and it's got customizable folders. And like I said, you can tap and open a PDF right into preview. And the cool thing too is now in the Files app, it's just like Finder on Mac OS. You tap the file and it'll ask you can open with another app. If you have a different app you want to open it in PDF, now you can do it like you can on a Mac. Tap and open it. So that was a huge thing as well, and it just was way overdue for what they did for this. The audio input selections is much more robust. So now if you want to hook up a mic to the iPad, the audio input selection it asks you, do you want to, in this case, it could be you want to use the iPad microphone, or if you want to use a Bluetooth microphone, or even a USB microphone, USB-C microphone, you could do that too. The folders are now put onto the dock. So now it's got the springboard like we have in Mac OS. You're starting to see trends here that it has it that way. And live translation across all of the OSs. So now if you're sending a message to somebody and they speak a different language, or vice versa, it will translate for either one of you on the fly. So you don't have to go to a translation app to do that. Other big thing they focused on was background tasks. And now, Chuck, you probably are going to like this. I don't know how much you use Final Cut Pro on an iPad, but now if you're importing something into Final Cut, exporting it out of Final Cut, it can work in the background and you can keep continuing to work on the iPad. And it's really something here. Yeah. Are you using an iPad for any video editing, Chuck?
I played with it. I can't say that I use it that much, just because I'm used to using the Mac. But yeah, I've played with that, and and also LumaFusion. And they both. Final Cut has a little bit lower learning curve for me because I already know Final Cut. LumaFusion took a little while to get used to, but the touch interface is it's based much more on the touch interface. So
You really need to know all the icons that LumaFusion uses to use it properly.
Yeah, and but on the other hand, you got to know where everything is in Final Cut too. So choose your poison. They're both terrific. They can complement each other. But yeah, Dave, I saw that, and I'll throw this in while you're going through it. So many of these features sound great. I want to get my hands on them, and I'm not suggesting that I'm skeptical of them. I just want to see how realistic it would be to replace a lot of my MacBook functions with those. I think I still want the horsepower of my MacBook Pro. But for the rest of it, I'm looking forward to playing with this. It's the first time I've really been tempted to install a beta.
This was probably one of the more exciting WWDC keynotes, and I can remember of just so many of the amazing the features that were announced in this OS and iPadOS especially. It does do local audio and video capture on the fly on the iPad. That's new. I mean, that's going to make some really easy ways of getting your recordings and video capturing done. They did, and I noticed this. The Journal app is now brought to the iPad, and I believe it's also on Vision Pro now too. So they're bringing that over. So they did add that. Expose is part of iPadOS, just like the Mac. So we're seeing a trend here, right? And the other cool thing is apps. You can go up and like Pages, for one thing, they have the same buttons at the top, the red, the yellow, and the green icons on the left side, and you now can get the menu. So if you have the app open and you tap at the top of the window, it's going to bring the files menu just like you're used to on the Mac. So you have all the file open and all the other access menus just like you do on the Mac. So again, another reason why this potentially could be something that people will start
going to be
closer
huge.
at. It's going to be huge. I've already seen some articles out there. I could easily give up my MacBook Air and use this iPad based on some of the stuff.
The one thing that I think holds it back is screen size, 13 inches, because it's using the new windowing system. It makes your screen very, very busy. And the other thing is the trackpad on the smart keypad is okay. If you're used to using a mouse or a trackball or something like that, go ahead and get one for your iPad as well, because I think you'll be much happier with it, as well as maybe a Bluetooth keyboard. I mean, the smart keyboard is great if you're in a tight space and you don't really have room to, have other accessories. But I find that the keyboard on the smart keyboard to be pretty poor. So I would rather use a Bluetooth keyboard that was a little more spread out. Now, other people may find it fine. I would rather have something else.
Yep. Anybody want to add anything else with iPad that excited them?
Well, one thing I am curious about, can you output the iPad video to a larger monitor?
Yes.
Yes.
You can.
See, that right there as well could be a big game changer. The one thing that I've been pushing for many years is we've got these tiny devices that are virtual computers, and they're hobbled by their user interface. So, not unlike the Samsung DeX and what Android is kind of starting to play around with right now, it would be great if we could just hook up an iPhone or an iPad with a USB-C cable to a dock and have a full 27-inch screen with all of the goodness that we can get from that.
Yeah. Well, I have a travel monitor that I use from work, and that's a 14-inch screen. I plug it directly into the iPad. There you go, right there. It's on a stand. I can
Does
put
it
it right
work?
next to the
Have
iPad.
you tried it with the new beta installed?
Yes, works perfect.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, it works great. I was able to use I use when I was sharing my screen during the Mac user group. I use Benzel. That's the sharing program for any Apple device, iPhone or iPad, and it plugs right in and it shares it, and it worked really well. So they've done some good things as far as video connections go. I know, unfortunately, Jeff had an issue with it, but it's
Yeah,
it's
but you know,
really,
it's the first dev beta.
it's a
So
beta,
I'm not
right.
complaining. It just
So I got lucky.
didn't work.
I guess that's all we can say. So, but yeah, it's something that's really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to putting it on my. I'm not putting it on my primary iPad, but I've got
No,
this.
I've only
This
got
is
the
a
one, and I went ahead
this is
and
an
did it.
older 2018 iPad Pro, and it's perfectly fine for me to play on that one. So
M1 totally smooth.
yeah,
Actually, you know what? Let me walk that back a little bit.
sure.
I was using the Apple TV app and watching some video, and
Mhm.
anytime I resized the screen, everything would just kind of go and stop
Yeah.
playing and do a few weird and funky things. But
Mhm.
that has really been the only thing that didn't work as advertised for me so far. I love the
Okay.
menu bar at the very, very top.
Mhm.
It really does. It really does feel more Mac-like. I'm very happy with this update.
Yep, I agree. And it it's just pretty incredible. I must say. I must say.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the only issue I've come across on the iOS and iPad OS is if you're importing pictures, you can't import directly into an album. You have to import into the library and then move it into an album,
Mm.
which unfortunately is something I do a lot. So it's annoying that the two machines that I use to do that don't anymore. So yes, it's a beta. Don't just install it because it looks cool.
Yeah.
But it's worth
then-
it to me.
yeah. And I didn't mention about the windowing. I mean, you've got the grabber bar like you have on the Vision Pro when you grab windows, the little
Lower
curved
right.
grabber
Yep.
bar, and that's how you move the windows now, because it was so difficult on previous versions of iPad OS to move the windows. I even had a challenge with that. So, yeah, there's just quite amazing stuff here. Let's move on a little quick and go a little quickly with Mac OS. I'll just throw it out there. I'll start with you, Chuck. What did stood out for you on Mac OS?
There's so many things that I actually have to kind of look at the list here, because I felt like there were so many nice little things. Of course, the liquid glass we talked
Mhm.
about. Continuity, Spotlight got a lot of enhancements. In fact,
did.
I kind of misunderstood the one, the quick keys. The first time I watched the keynote,
Mhm.
I didn't fully grasp exactly what quick keys does. And now that I've come to understand it and read a couple of the articles, it's like, ooh, this is going to be really nice. So I'm really excited for that. The gaming upgrades, I don't
Yeah.
care. The shortcuts things, yeah, that was impressive. Again, it was the overall impact of all the little things that I really like the idea of, instead of just being able to pick out one or two and like, oh, that's the thing that's going to draw me in. So you got to go check out the whole list, or better yet, watch the keynote.
Right.
But there are also, since the keynote came out, there have been a number of little things. Here we go again, little things that have come out that they didn't have time for in the keynote. So
Right.
I'm really tempted. In fact, I do have a MacBook Pro, an older one, a 2019 Intel, that I may violate my own rules and install the beta on, because I'm anxious to play
You're
with
out of
this and start
control,
to-
Chuck.
Well,
Chuck
yeah.
gone wild.
Yeah,
I'm going to put a new beta on.
Yeah, my idea of a good
Yeah,
time
well,
is putting a new beta
Who
on.
cares what happens with Intel 2019,
Is-
right?
Isn't that pathetic? I need a life. I need a life.
Oh, we all do it. We all do it. Anybody else want to throw anything here? I mean, that was some of the notable things with Mac OS. We got games, we got the new design, the games overlay, the control center customization. They've enhanced that. The Spotlight, I think, was the biggest thing that you've got even more power with searching on Spotlight. The Journal app is on Mac now, Mac OS. Icon tinting was good, and it does have phone capabilities now. You can have your phone on Mac OS now, so they talked about that too. So, but and we'll cover more stuff. We can't go over every single thing here within our time frame here. So, but I think Mac OS has had some pretty exciting things as well. And Watch OS, there wasn't I wasn't overly excited about Watch OS. Was anybody else? 'Cause I think it had some good things. The Workout Buddy, the AI coaching, personalized fitness encouragement, that was, I guess, kind of cool. The liquid glass design refresh was cool. The smarter smart stack with the content-based suggestions. You have the new risk flick, so you can the gestures and managing notifications, which was cool. And then messages supports with live translation and enhanced intelligent actions was added as well. Then there's the Notes app has now arrived on the Apple Watch. I don't know if you're going to be looking at notes too much on the Apple Watch, but at least you have access to it, because if you remember you put a note in somewhere and you don't want to pull out your phone and you want to look on your watch, and maybe you get a quick glimpse of what you wanted to look at. Not bad. I don't think much else really was overly excited than anybody else. They stand up for you on Watch OS.
The risk flick, I think, is it saves me having to take my other hand to get back to the screen that has the time on it. Because they've made made the notifications in this previous version just pop up, and kind of you've got to get rid of them, and the way to get rid of them is physically, and now you just got to shake your wrist and it'll take you back to the home screen.
Yep. Yep. We'll hit on Apple Intelligence and all that happened in a minute here. I just got to briefly talk about tvOS. There was some enhancements there. Of course, liquid glass across all the OSs, as we said. They did enhance the user profiles, so now it has a standout feature here that improves user profile systems, that allows you to automatically display their profile upon waking up the Apple TV, and then it'll provide you quicker access to personalized recommendations and watch lists and such. That was really cool. The Apple Music Sing with iPhone integration, that's going to be so party pleasing if you like karaoke. That you can now turn your iPhone into a wireless microphone for karaoke sessions. So that's going to be interesting. They brought karaoke really the last in tvOS 18, where it would have the lyrics flying, and it would mute down the songs you just heard the music and not the not the singing. So this is going to enhance it even more. And then they threw some enhanced face chime experiences on Apple TV, including call notifications and contact posters, live captions, and multiple languages. So they had some cool enhancements there. Then AirPlay speaker support. Users can now designate any AirPlay-enabled speaker as the primary audio for their Apple TV. That is cool. Because that was always a challenge. I was using had my audio engine with my Bluetooth audio engine B1 Bluetooth device, and it always would have a trouble cutting in and out. I mean, I'm using the HomePods, the first gen HomePods as speakers too, and those don't work aren't as much of a trouble. But if you want to do, like, I want to use my audio engine, they sound really good, and it was tough to get it to work. So that was some of the things with tvOS. But Apple Intelligence, what stood out with their Apple Intelligence and AI, they did expand things with foundation models and framework, and developers can now build fast and private offline intelligence. The live translation is also intelligent. They've got the visual intelligence, so you can actually take actions from screenshots and screen content and to find out what's what. The design UI was also a universal design, which is liquid glass across all platforms, and they have a harmonized look and feel from iPhone to Mac to Vision OS. So they really outdid themselves with this, but we always kind of wondered what was going to happen. Will Apple to talk about it? Well, he talked about it at the very first. That was the first thing they talked about was Apple Intelligence and where they are, and they were very honest about it. So What anything stand out for everybody here with the Apple Intelligence? Jeff, how about you?
Sure. Okay. So what really stood out to me is that it felt like Apple learned from the horrible mistakes that they made last year, which is to try and give us flashy, cool, look what we're doing, what everyone else is doing kind of features with AI, instead of focusing on what they do really well, which is
Mhm.
give us those AI and machine learning features that enhance our productivity and make it easier to do the things we do all the time.
Mhm.
The sort of AI features that aren't as cool in a press release, they're in many cases they're features you will never even notice, which is exactly the way you want them to be. So I feel like this year they have gone back to that concept a little bit more. While there's still some flashy stuff they were showing, I really did feel like they they said, okay, how do we make these tools do things that actually matter in people's lives instead of just being a little eye candy carnival?
Yep. Chuck, anything stand out for you in Apple Intelligence?
Uh, Sort of piggybacking on what Jeff said, it strikes me there are a lot of Apple Intelligence features that we're seeing sneak into specific applications and specific uses, as opposed to what we're all, I think, suckered into at times, and in a
Mhm.
positive way. But the prompts, asking ChatGPT, what's the best pizza recipe, and you get an answer, as opposed to recognizing that Apple's approach, at least up to this point, is to have it in the background. Now they're going to give developers access to that large language model to tap into some of what they do.
Mhm.
But I don't, everybody keeps saying, even post keynote, Apple's behind, Apple's behind. And I think they may be missing the point that Apple is just baking it in, as opposed to, again, as Jeff said, trying to do something flashy that really gets your attention. So, I thought everything he mentioned and more, all the little things that Apple's doing. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the point, but I just feel like Apple Intelligence is being used to make the overall experience better. And in typical Apple fashion, they have not done a good job of communicating that part. They tried the flashy and they got burned with it. And so now I think if they can continue to just keep pushing the idea that Apple Intelligence is driving this, Apple Intelligence is driving that, you just don't really notice it, or there's not a big thing that pops up that says AI on your screen every time.
Yeah. Marty, you're going to be doing a presentation about AI and at MacStock.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I'm
What happened?
feeling much better about the presentation after
Hmm.
WWDC
Yeah.
because here's my take on it. And I've kind of said this, and you guys have said this too. They don't need to do it fast. They need
No.
to do it right. But what they've done is they've focused on two aspects that Apple does that other platforms typically don't do: privacy and personal context.
Mhm.
So if you look at all these little advances that we like and some of what it can do, what the new platforms can do, it's really using AI to focus on personal context. And it's not sending out wild questions to the universe to find out what the answer is. It's working with the data that's on your phone for the purpose of creating
Mhm.
a meaningful experience for you. I think Apple, the way they answered the AI issue from last year was basically to say, we're getting out of the race. We're going to focus on what our platform is. We're going to focus on what users can do with the information that they have that they want to be able to combine and come up with solutions for what they're doing, not necessarily. And if they need to go out to Chat GPT, there's an app for that, or there's a way that will ask you permission to do that. But right now, we're focusing on the internal kind of intelligence and not necessarily the big flashy stuff. So I was thrilled that they took this head on. And, just today I'm starting to read articles like, well, maybe Apple has it right with Apple Intelligence. We just haven't seen it. So, yeah.
Well, I'll ask you, Guy, what did you think on Apple Intelligence?
Well, as compared to last year, this year they underpromised, and let's hope they overdeliver.
Yeah.
Listening to what everyone says or has said tonight, the fact that so much of Apple's current development for AI, and I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of the people that were working on AI for Apple aren't at Apple anymore, is that they're pushing it into Apple's applications. So, not unlike what Microsoft did with their Office suite, not unlike what Google does with some of their stuff. The flashy stuff, like let's make a song in Suno and let's create a 5-page story outline in whatever program, and then asking a question in Perplexity or anything along those lines. There are already solutions for that, and I think Apple is being smart by not concentrating on reinventing the wheel, but applying what they've learned to the applications that they already have.
Okay. And lastly, Eric, what do you think?
They described a lot of features and the features they could show us, and there might have been AI involved underneath them. But that AI wasn't the focus because it was AI. The feature was the focus because it was useful. And that was a big change from last year. I really appreciated that.
More substance, less flash.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, there's so much content we could go on probably for hours. I don't want to do that, but we want to. We'll span this out for a number of episodes.
Can I say something real quick? How many people here have seen a multitude of posts in the various social media networks that just says "worst keynote ever," which is what they say every single year.
Every year.
Every year.
These are the same people that if Apple gave them every single feature that they wanted, they would still be pissed off because they didn't get a pony unicorn to go along with it.
With a gold saddle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, there was a couple news stories here. I'm going to just call this one out just because I'm so excited about multitasking. Craig Federighi actually was interviewed by Ars Technica, and as we talked about, Apple did introduce the new multitasking UI that allows several open apps to be at the same time, changing the size of windows and so on and so forth. But Craig did explain why it took so long to gain proper windowing multitasking. The delay apparently was stemmed from early hardware limitations. According to Federighi, the original iPads lacked the power for true multitasking, and the first touch interface demanded perfect responsiveness. And he's quoting him. It is a fundamental requirement that if you touch the screen and start moving something, that it responds. Otherwise, your entire interaction model is broken. It's a psychic break with your contract with the device. Yeah, there's no question. The early iPads, there was no way you could do it. I mean, like I said when I did MacStock presentation about could it be your full-time computer. Yeah, those iPads, there's no way. That was the first gen iPad when I was on stage when I had that, the 12.9 inch. And then of course, Stage Manager was troubled when in 2022 when it was debated, then when it debuted with its challenges. And he says here, and the stars kind of aligned to where many of the things that you traditionally do with a Mac were possible to do on an iPad for the first time and still meet iPad's base contract. So I find this to be fascinating to see. One other quote he says is, we've looked and said, as the iPad and the Mac come together, we're on the iPad and the Mac idiom was for doing something like where we put the window close closed controls and maximum controls with the color. We've said why not where it makes sense, and using convergent design that things are so it's familiar with comfort. And that's what Federici said, but where it didn't make sense, now the iPad's going to be an iPad. What do you guys think of this? I think this is another reasoning why we have this. What do you think, Jeff?
I think that what Greg said sounds really good, and it makes sense. At the same time, I think that it also fits the stumbling path that they have followed with iPad development over the years, and makes it seem much better than it actually has been. Um, yeah, I appreciate his candor. At the same time, I do not fully accept everything he's saying at face value.
Yeah.
How's that for a really polite way to say a lot of things?
Well done, Jeff. Well done. Chuck, what's your thoughts on this? I'm excited about the multitasking, so interesting what Craig said.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Apple tried. That's another thing Apple does. They experiment, they try. And this may have been one of those times where their experiments didn't work and they needed to continue to push the platform ahead. I found it interesting, and I don't think it's in the notes, but I specifically read an article last night at dinner that said that the slide out, and I forget what the other was called, but they go away in favor of the more Mac OS like experience. So you still will have that single app experience on your iPad if you want it, or you can have the Mac like experience, but you won't have the old iPad multitasking experience. And look, I mean, we had the touch bar. A lot of people liked it, a lot of people didn't. It was much maligned, so they did away with it. Apple's done away with a lot of things. So I feel like this may have been a failed experiment. They tried and it wasn't enough. Now we will try going the Mac OS way, like a lot of people have wanted for a long time. We'll see if it works. As to what I think Craig was, being direct, but I'm with Jeff, and we had this discussion the other day that they are not, anytime you see any Apple executives in public, they're rehearsed, they're limited. They know exactly what they're going to say. There are no surprises here. So while it may have been candid, it was also studied and approved as an acceptable message to distribute.
Yep. I did
how's
find
that
an article about,
how's that a polite way for saying a lot of things too?
That is very polite.
Well done, Chuck.
Yeah.
Well done. I did find that article with the iPad 26 multitasking update gets rid of split view and slide over.
Thank you. Slide over. Couldn't say slide over.
Slide over. That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
The one that
I'll
every
put that in
time
show
you
notes.
enabled it, you had to go to a different device and do a Google search to figure out how to get back out of it.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, now I remember.
Eric, you laugh, but this was my life.
I've done
was
it.
bad.
I've done it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How
much
about
better.
you, Guy? What do you think of Craig's comments?
I think what Federici said stinks to high heaven.
Okay, so much for politeness there, Jeff.
I am just not interested in being polite. That was so much spin. Nearly every single iPad created since, and this is just me speculating, since 2018 would have been capable of doing everything that we're seeing today. And the fact that Apple didn't do it, I think, speaks more to not wanting to have a product as similar to another product. So they didn't want the iPad to look like the Mac. They didn't want the Mac to look like the iPad, except for these carefully done little experiments. Slide over, that was garbage. That was hot garbage. That was not multitasking. If you want to multitask, then you have to be able to get stuff out of the way to bring up other stuff that you want to work with right now. So what they did before, I tried it, and I had to Google how to get into it and how to get out of it. And anytime that you throw up those kinds of roadblocks in your UI, you're doing something wrong. And it wasn't until this beta that just came out that Apple finally got the message that what they were doing wasn't working. And so now we have something that everyone is familiar with, everyone knows how to use. They don't have to look it up. They have the visual cues like the little bottom right corner where you can very quickly resize a window. One of the things that people are going to have to get used to is all of the apps that they currently use when they bring it up for the first time is still going to take up the entire screen. So you'll have to resize each one of the applications that you use. And the iPad so far has remembered the size that I created for each one of these applications.
Yeah, same.
It's freaking brilliant the way that it's working. The smart keyboard, I think, is hot garbage, but the ability to use other kinds of Bluetooth accessories to do things like typing on a full-size keyboard and using something other than a little tiny postage size trackpad that's in the middle of the smart keyboard these are all steps that people are going to take. And I think that the iPad is finally going to be the device that can be your main computer for 80 to 90% of the people out there. The thing that's still going to hold it back is price. To get an iPad that's configured in such a way that you're going to have a great experience with enough storage and enough RAM and enough screen size, it's going to cost you still as much as what you're paying for a MacBook Air, which is also a brilliant device. The price needs to come down. Give us, the people that are going to use this as a main computer, they don't need like a super OLED screen. They just don't need it. Give us a 14-inch iPad with just a decent screen. Doesn't have to be the sharpest and the brightest and the thinnest and all the rest of that garbage. Just give us an iPad with a decent screen, Bluetooth for our other devices, and a way to connect peripherals other than the single freaking USB-C port that you have on the bottom of it. And they're going to have a winner. Was that polite
that sounds
enough?
like a Mac, but yeah.
That was. Eric, how about you?
I
blew Eric away with that. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I could see that. I can't follow that. I just, yeah.
Okay.
I can't be a hard act to follow.
I thought I'd give you an opportunity.
Well, okay, so I have one thing, and that is it finally feels like they have somebody in charge of the future of the iPad that actually uses the iPad to get stuff done.
Yes.
And it's not, we're trying to get something that's a lower priced MacBook for kids and we want to restrict a bunch of stuff. No, they finally said, hey, don't take your laptop on vacation, take the iPad, and you still need to get work done. And yeah, it's nice.
And until there's a Mac that has a cellular connection,
right?
Yep,
you can use it with an iPad. Just get a cellular service with your iPad.
Yep.
With hopefully a service that doesn't give you like 5 gigs and then slows you to a crawl to AOL speeds. And I think people will be amazed with what they can do with one of these machines.
Yep. I'll give last word here to Marty.
It's been an interesting conversation to listen to. I am reminded that I had an alarm go off, and Guy, I think it's time for your medication again. Here's the thing.
Where's my Adderall?
I get a new iPad every year. I just get a new iPad every year. And each year when I get the new iPad, some of the guilt sets in and it's like, well, let me see if I can use this like my Mac. And that fantasy disappears after a while. And, you know, now I've got an operating system. Now I realize it's not the new iPad, it's the operating system that's been holding me back.
Yes.
And now I've got an operating system that feels more like something that I could use in a work or productivity environment than trying to figure out how to open up the windows so half of it's this and half of it's that. And the three dots at the top and all of that crap that goes with the old multitasking system. So it's time to give it another college try, particularly with this new OS on it. You know, and I've loaded it, I've looked at it, I've opened up apps in it, and it does feel a lot more Mac-like-ish, which will make it easier for me to kind of put that MacBook Air aside and take this to the office, or maybe even take it on a trip and not feel like I'm going through withdrawal from the operating system I like to work on. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
All right. Boy, that was a lot of stuff to cover this week. And there's going to be more coverage in the next few weeks here because there's just so much other items I wanted to talk about. And there's some other features that weren't even announced that I want to hit on. But we'll save that for next time. But before we go, a couple announcements I want to make. First off, I wanted to give a shout out to Scallion, one of our listeners. He was kind enough to buy me a coffee this past week. Thank you, Scallion. I'm glad you are enjoying the show. He said he loves our panel and you guys do an amazing job. So thank you so much. And then also we got to to the left. And also we got to talk about Macstock. And I cannot believe it's 4 weeks away as of today, as we record this. So you got to come join us. Macstock. It's July 11th, 12th, 13th at the Holiday Inn in Crystal Lake, just outside of Chicago. We are going to have an absolute blast. We have so many great speakers. Everybody here, sadly, that guy's not going to make it, but we'll miss. We'll have you in our hearts here. But
Yeah,
we
the
should
day
you
it
were there.
starts is my last day of work.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good idea.
Guy, I'll make poor life choices in your honor. How's that sound?
Somebody had to.
But you can almost guarantee we'll be podcasting from there. But who knows? We might slip you on the show. We'll see how it goes.
Cool.
So just the theme is share, and we're all going to be doing some great presentations. Jeff, myself, and Marty. And Marty's going to be with his son. It's going to be so much fun. And the networking is amazing. You meet new friends. You catch up with old friends. It's not a conference that you're not going to be afraid to come and approach people, say hi, and talk to us. So it's going to be a great time.
About that show.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So you're going to have some, just like I said, amazing speakers, including one of our regular contributors, Jill McKinley, will be there. Kelly Kumat's going to be there. Brittany Smith, you get those two in a room, boy, it's going to be a party. That's for sure. And Allison Sheridan.
Talk about making poor life choices.
Yes. And then Ecamm is a sponsor, so Doc Rock's going to be there. Where I'm going to get to meet him for the first time. You guys have all met him. Most of you have. So that's going to be exciting. And also some great Ecamm events to learn how to use Ecamm. I'm going to be participant, and not only at that, or a speaker as well. So it's just amazing. It's got 3 full days. You got workshops. You got great presentations. You got to come join us. So what we have is we have a discount code. If you want to join us, you can use InTouch50 at checkout. Use that coupon code, and you're going to save $50 off of the 3-day pass. It's pretty amazing. You also have the digital pass. He's always got it up on sale now. So if you aren't going to be able to make it this year, you can surely get that on-demand recording. It's not really expensive, and then you'll be able to see what we all did during the Macstock conference. So again, the offer code is InTouch50. Join us. We'd love to have you. The website, macstockconferenceandexpo.com. Absolutely would love for you to come join us. Everything is in our show notes. You'll be able to get those links as well. So come to check us out. And like I said, you get to see most of us there and all the others that I just mentioned. So come join us. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. But for now, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. You are going to have, please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky and Mastodon at In Touch with iOS. Support the show by buying me a coffee, just like Scallion did at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can also become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming, which is Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. We had a great a bunch of folks there that was joined us. The Web was in the chat, and a number of others were in. So thanks for joining us this tonight. And you want to make sure you subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming as well. So you can watch the live stream. I leave those live streams up there to watch, and you also can listen to past shows on YouTube. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can also subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, and Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Blue Sky and Mastodon we appreciate you being here. And Guy Searle, I'm going to start with you. Where can people find you? Thanks for being here.
Breathe, Dave. Breathe.
Yes.
Breathe.
I'm good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You will eventually be able to find me again as one of the hosts of my Mac podcast. As soon as fearless leader Tim is back on his feet. Get better, Tim. We're all pulling.
Get better, Tim. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, I actually recorded, it's not posted anywhere other than the Book of Faces, but a new Guy's Daily Drive, it's been a long time. And it's not daily, obviously, and I do it while driving, so it is half accurate. You can send me an email to guy@mymac.com. I can be found as MacParrot or VertShark over on Twax, and MacParrot over there in Blue Sky. There's the VertShark channel there on YouTube, and you can give us a call. Area code 703-828-4677. Yeah.
All right. You can call it sometimes Daily Drive. How about that?
Yeah, it's the occasional daily drive.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Thank you, Guy. And Jeff Gamet, so glad you were able to make it this week. And where can people find you?
Well, as always, thank you for letting me join in. It's great to get to hang out with everyone. Mm-hmm. So you can find me on social media. I'm Jay Gamet on pretty much everything, and I'm active right now on Mastodon and Blue Sky and PixelFed. Then for shows, here we go. Tuesdays on Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live, here on Thursdays for In Touch with iOS. British Tech Network, The Big Show and The Mac Show. Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch.
All righty. And Chuck Joyner, thank you for being here this week. Where can people find you?
You can tell that somebody bought Dave a coffee because the caffeine has definitely taken effect.
There's water in here.
So all of you
Stick
people
to
out
that
there,
story, Dave.
Yeah, all of you people that want to see this happen more often, buy Dave more coffee, and you'll have an hour show in 10 minutes.
That's right.
You can find me
2x speed anymore.
Yeah. You can find me at macvoices.com. As Dave said, Macstock is coming up. We're doing the Road to Macstock series. We've talked probably maybe about a third to somewhere between a third and 2/3 of the presenters. There are more coming out, so check that out. We do the live show Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. And on all the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner, except for Twax. What the devil is Twax, Guy?
It's my derivative way of saying Twitter X.
Oh, okay. Everybody seems to have their own abbreviation. So, okay. Well, on Twax, you can find me there too. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Thank you, as always. Marty Gensius, thank you for being here. Always a pleasure having you. Where can people find you?
It's fun to be here, Thursday nights when we record. It's a good end of the week for me. You can find me at Gensius, Jencius, at mastodon.social or at Blue Sky, under the same name. Monday nights with Eric Bolden and with Dave Ginsburg as we do Vision Profiles at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, streamed through YouTube, and you can pick it up at later opportunities. Tuesday nights here with Dave. Tuesday nights here with Chuck. Well, not here, but with Chuck on Tuesday.
Do you go to a
8 p.m.
different place?
Yeah. Well, mentally I do.
Okay. Good.
Tuesdays with Chuck on Mac Voices, Thursdays here with Dave, and then occasionally Friday mornings with the Mac Show. You can check out my other podcasts at thepodtalk.net.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marty. And it's always a pleasure to be on Vision Profiles, and we're going to have a ton to talk about next week because
Yeah.
we can catch up on everything we talked about this week on Vision Pro, right? Eric, last but certainly not least, Eric Bolden, thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure having you here. Where can people find you?
It can be found on Mastodon at EA Bolden at techhub.social. And Mondays with Marty and Dave on Vision Profiles. Tuesdays with Chuck on Mac Voices. And of course, Thursdays here on In Touch with iOS.
You got all the OSs covered.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed your show. I really appreciate you listening and subscribing and watching. And we'll be back next week. But until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk again soon.
Yes.
Yay. Yeah. The show hands. Thank you, gentlemen.
That was fun.
Always
Cubs are ahead
fun.
3-0 in the top of the seventh. So
I have the app, you know that one where the app shows you
right
there.
yeah.
It's always popping up so I can see it now. Oh, Suzuki hit a home run. So, yay. But yeah. Boy, it was a busy week. Every time we do
Boy,
that
howdy.
Yeah.
every year. That was a blast on Mac and Tech, though. I was so happy we got to do that.
That was fun. Chuck, word on the street is that Andy did reach out to you about your offer.
Yes, and my response was, "And you believe anything Jeff says?"
Yeah, Andy did ask me about that.
Yeah, it's like
I told her that's fair.
You know, I thought she had better sense than that.
Well, I mean,
we were talking about it a few times during the meeting.
Oh.
Yeah, Chuck, you were my go-to example person.
Yeah.
For what?
He was.
Wait a minute. For what?
Everything.
I think I want a little more before I.
Yeah, some
show my face
context
in
is
public.
required. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was.
Wait a minute. You can. I asked a question. I didn't get an answer.
Yeah, he was an answer.
Examples of what?
Oh.
Huh, how about that?
Yes.
No, when I talk, every time I talked about something where it involved interaction with someone else, I would reference you and come up with some scenario for whatever the interaction would be between us.
I think he's more worried now.
Yeah. That.
Someone else.
I think it's a good cue to
I
say goodbye
would-
to